All right, in today's lecture, we're going to be going over how to create highlights and shadows in your linear perspective drawings. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and add in our horizon line, and then we're going to quickly draw a cube that we can use to apply highlights and shadows to. So once we get our horizon line, we need to find our two vanishing points, or you can even do this with 1 point perspective. And then we want to go ahead and draw in that vertical line for the corner of our box. So I'm going to draw it in right about here. And then I'm going to go ahead and connect those to my vanishing points. All right, perfect. Next, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and add in those horizontal lines for the other edges of our box. So I'll add in one right here, and then I'll add another one here on the other side, like so. And then we can go ahead and solidify these bottom and top lines. Great, so now we have our cube. The next thing we need to do is we need to decide where our light source is coming from. So I'm gonna make my light source coming from up here on this top side. So I'm gonna come all the way up to almost the top of my page and put a little dot there to represent my light source. The next thing I wanna do is, now that I know where my light source is, I need to add in my core and midtone shadow. Now we're not gonna see our highlight because it's on the top surface and we can't see that surface because of the way the perspective is. But we are going to see our core and midtone shadow. So our core shadow is going to go on this side of our box because our light source is on the opposite side, and then this side can be our midtone. So let's go ahead and fill those in. Great, so now we have our core shadow and our mid shadow drawn in there. The next thing we want to do is we want to add in a cast shadow. Now adding in cast shadows on linear perspective is very interesting. So what we need to do first is we need to go ahead and draw a vertical line coming straight down from our light source. So I'm going to go ahead and line my ruler up with that light source and come straight down, like so, all the way down to my horizon line. And it actually lines up right with that edge of my box. Then let's go ahead and put a little point right there on my horizon line. And then what we want to do next is we want to go ahead and draw a line from our light source all the way to each one of these top corners. So let's go ahead and do that. So our first one is just going to basically come straight down because it just so happens that our light source is lined up directly with this edge of our box. Now it's not always going to be like this, but in this case it is. And we'll try another example after this just so you can see a different scenario of creating cast shadows in linear perspective. And then we'll do this last corner. Great. Next, what we want to do is we want to draw a line coming from this point on our horizon line to the bottom three corners. So this one, we already have the line drawn because it's going to be the same straight line. Then this one needs to come to that point, so we'll go ahead and draw that in. And we can stop drawing our line once it gets to right there where these two lines cross. So where this middle line crosses on the bottom and this middle line crosses on the top, we can go ahead and end our line because that's the point we're looking for. Then let's go ahead and do the last one. So we'll line it up with this last corner and we can go ahead and draw that in until it crosses with this line. Next, what we need to do is we need to go ahead and connect these points, and we can't actually see the crossing point here, so we're just going to about guesstimate where these would be crossing. So let's go ahead and take our ruler and we'll connect each one of these points. So we'll connect from there to there. And then we just need to guesstimate about where these two are crossing. So these are crossing at about that distance, And since this one is a little bit further away, this surface or this edge, it's going to be a little bit shorter. So we want to probably come to about there. And then we'll go ahead and draw a line from here to there, just like so. And so now we have the shape of our cast shadow. Now what we can do is we can go ahead and fill that in. All right, great. So now we have the cast shadow for our box in perspective. Now let's try another one, because since this light source was right above the edge of our box, it kind of gave us a very strange scenario that you won't usually run into. So let's go ahead and try creating a box in a different position on our page. That way we get a different shadow on it and we don't get this weird thing happening here. So let's try creating a box right over here. And I'm just going to follow the same perspective on these same lines. So I'll just go ahead and draw a vertical line right there. And then I'll draw a second vertical line right down here. And then we can go ahead and connect these two corners back to our horizon line like so. And I'm not going to extend it all the way. I'll just extend it part of the way. So that way I can just go ahead and connect another vertical line right there. All right, great. Now let's go ahead and solidify all of these lines so they're a lot darker and thicker. All right, perfect. So now what we need to do is we need to decide where our highlights and shadows are going to be. So in this case, we're not really going to see our highlight, but we will see our core shadow and our midtone. So let's go ahead and fill those in. All right, great. Now let's go ahead and add in our cast shadow. So again, we're going to do the same thing we did on this box, and we're just going to go ahead and draw a line from our light source to each top corner of our box. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll draw from here to there, like so. We'll draw from here to there, and then we'll draw to our last corner. All right, perfect. Next, let's go ahead and do the same, but for our bottom corners. So I'm going to go ahead and come to this point right here on my horizon line, and I'm going to go ahead and draw to this first bottom corner. And I can draw that until it crosses with this line right here, which is my first line to that corner. And then we'll go ahead and do the same thing for this next corner. And we can stop there because that's where it crosses. And then let's go ahead and do the same thing for our last one. So we'll go ahead and come to this last corner here. We'll draw that line across there until it crosses with this line. And now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and connect this point right there, this point, and this point. So let's go ahead and connect those. And then we'll connect this last one. Like so. And now we have the shape for our cast shadow. Now let's go ahead and fill that in with our cast shadow value. All right, great. So now we have that cast shadow in perspective. Now, if you wanted to, you can go ahead and erase away all of these guidelines, which if you're doing a final product drawing, you would definitely want to do that. But for now, I'm just going to leave them there. And your assignment for this lecture is to go ahead and draw a cube in 2-point perspective, then add a light source, and then figure out where your core shadow is, where your midtone shadow is, and if you can see the highlight, where your highlight is. Once you do that, then I want you to go ahead and use your light source to create a cast shadow in perspective, and then I want you to go ahead and post that to either the Q&A section of the course or the Facebook group. Thanks for watching this lecture, and I really look forward to seeing you in the next one, where we're going to learn how to draw round objects in perspective.